YouTube. Hello, this is Rick Rakowskis, and you are listening to Wildfire Daily. Today is the 9th of September, 2020. Right now we're looking at the SIT report, and it is showing a preparedness level of 5. Northern California area, PL5. We've got 30 uncontained large fires. As you can see, the pictures that we'll show here in a little bit, the amount of smoke and coverage that the Bay Area, San Francisco in particular, is getting is pretty remarkable. Along with a couple other things, there was a burnover on the Dolan fire yesterday involving 15 or so firefighters that were trying to protect the Nacimiento station, resulting in several injuries. The Forest Service put this notification out. They're shutting down all national forests in the United States due to the number of fires that we've got and the existing conditions. Hot and dry weather is pretty unprecedented. This is pretty interesting. Zero solar energy making it to the ground in the Bay Area. This right here is footage that somebody had taken along the Golden Gate Bridge, and I have never ever in my entire career seen a city totally smoked out like this. This is the first time I've seen something like that. So very, very impressive and important to think about, just because some people deny climate change. It's showing up right in front of our faces, and it's continuing despite cooler temperatures over the last few days. These fires are continuing to spread rapidly. They're creating their own pyrocumulonimbus, which is really interesting. So these incredible large columns of smoke and ash create their own weather patterns. And when I say they create their own weather patterns, they're putting lightning down, positive lightning strikes, and starting new fires, along with propelling ash and embers forward for new spot fires. It's a pretty wild thing, the amount of energy that can accumulate in a relatively small area in regards to. So as you can see, this footage of all of these different columns that are developing on these fires in Central and California, Northern Oregon, just the entire West Coast essentially. It's unprecedented. And when I was a student in university, we were learning about climatology, and my professors straight up would just tell us, hey, this is a challenge that affects you, meaning the students, the millennials, more than it does the boomers, him. And despite being very intelligent and prepared to come up with solutions, that really responsibility falls on our shoulders as the current managers of these situations. And unfortunately, it's just getting out of hand. This is footage right here of the lightning strikes that I was describing in the pyrocumulonimbus. You wouldn't think that a fire column could create enough energy within itself to generate static electricity in order to create lightning strikes, but it surely can. So with that in mind, they're shutting down the national forests in the state, preventing people from recreating and going out, for their own safety, because of the air quality, and because, hey, they could be potential sources of ignition, and then also these rescue missions. This is unprecedented as well. They started calling off these rescue missions because the National Guard helicopters really just couldn't get into the areas. But at one point, I believe I read 400 people were flown out of a few different areas on a few different fires. Again, unprecedented. I've never ever seen this in my career to this degree. Maybe 1 or 2 people get flown off of a fire because they're out backpacking and it's approaching them. But I've never ever seen entire groups of folks that are trying to recreate in these areas that had nothing really to do with the fire. They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then this brings us to this. I mean, look, Colorado had fire, snow, and fire forecast all in the same 24-hour period. So the seasonal changes are not completely out of whack. We expect that September, late season stuff, we're going to start to see snow events, especially in the high altitudes. I've been, fighting fires at 7,300 feet in September and woke up to a foot of snow on the ground. It's not completely uncommon to experience a season-ending event like that. But the West is going to continue to burn, and like I had mentioned in my previous podcast, the first episode on Friday of last week, it just goes to show you that the West is still going to be incredibly busy through the rest of September into October, potentially November, and maybe even around Christmas, just depending on how things line up. And then let's last touch on this, the firefighters that experienced shelter deployment. So a fire shelter is a foil and fiberglass piece of equipment that firefighters carry with them in order to attempt to protect themselves from a rapidly approaching fire. And yesterday morning, 15 of these firefighters had to experience a deployment. I believe it's the first large-scale deployment of the season. Luckily, there was no fatalities, but it's a close call when you have 15 firefighters deploying and you have 3 or 4 of them experiencing severe injuries. So again, let's take a moment of silence and just keep those firefighters that are injured and also the ones that have perished in our thoughts. It's not an easy job, folks. It's tough to be away from your family and experiencing these awful conditions, along with the grueling type of work that they do. It's very rewarding. Obviously, it's a great job, but man, it's tough. And these fire conditions don't make their lives any easier. And it's challenging for everybody. It's challenging for civilians that are experiencing incredible poor air quality and uncertainty, especially folks that are getting evacuated from their areas. They're wondering if they're ever going to see their possessions in their homes again. It's hard to do, but it's essential. Case in point with those evacuations, when they say it's time to go, it's time to go. All right, that's it for today, folks. I really appreciate you taking the time to stop and listen. This is Wildfire Daily. If you like what I'm doing here, please leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, give me a thumbs up. It helps protect the channel and continue it on. So again, thank you very much. My name is Rick, and